Yes, hello, my name is Sharon Bartlett. I am the Organisational Development and Culture Partner for South Yorkshire Police. The biggest challenge that we were facing is that over the last few years, with austerity, budget cuts, losing police numbers, and having to really focus where we spent our money for the biggest return, was that to remain functional, we have to remain operationally competent. So we have to keep our officers in ticket so that they can have their first aid qualifications, their driving, their firearms, their taser, they're all up to date and they're legal to use. So that's where a lot of our finance and resources has gone around training. So we'd really focused on operational competence and really dropped off on leadership competence. And that was one of the biggest challenges we were facing when I came into the role about 2 years ago. To start to sort of address the challenge, what we looked at was at the time we were using MBTI and we were using the College of Policing's 360 as our only assessment tools to help leaders understand where they were and the development journey they needed to go on. And they weren't linked, they didn't speak to each other, so they were used in isolation. So although they had their place, they weren't necessarily delivering the best impact for us as an organisation. So I knew that I wanted to move us to a suite of tools that would build and really help people on that journey. I'd worked with Lumina before in 2013, so I knew how good it was. And so we were able to take a market research exercise, which I stayed well away from, so as I couldn't influence it. But luckily I was really thrilled when Lumina came out on top anyway. And we started to use Lumina Spark initially. We trained up a team of people internally on Lumina Spark. We've since also added capability internally around Lumina Emotion and Lumina Leader. But initially we're focusing on that Spark foundation level to get that level of self-awareness and that valuing diversity message really getting out there. It's been a really interesting journey. So we're only sort of 6 months in really from using this. We've done a lot of leadership away days. We've built the Lumina suite of tools into our leadership development framework. So what we have done is make sure that we're going to use each tool consistently. We're going to be able to know when the right time and the right situation is to use these so that we can really start to have those meaningful conversations with people. So in terms of implementing this and the results that we've seen, we're starting to really see the language of Lumina come in. We've actually had some of our chief officers, so our chief constable herself has shared her Lumina Splash via her QR code on the intranet for people to scan in across the organisation to see where her personal strengths and preferences lie. We're getting a really good use of the app. We're doing lots of away days with the cards and the mat and getting people introduced to their profiles, doing the one-to-one feedback sessions. So we're really trying to make sure that people get the most out of those tools. And what we're starting to see is people understand where they are and also understand where they want to go to, but valuing difference in people. So we're traditionally quite an outcome-focused organisation. We value outcome-focused people over and above most other things. What we're starting to have now is those conversations about where you've got a very outcome-focused team, where you might need to start looking for those people-focused, big-picture thinking people to really sort of round off what people want to do as a team and make sure that it has the right impact. The part for me that sets Lumina aside from other models and other tools that really speaks to what we're trying to achieve in South Yorkshire Police is that valuing diversity. It's about the fact that traditionally we do value outcome focused individuals. We've promoted those very much more so over the years, so that's quite a heavy influence for us at a senior leadership level. So it's really getting those leaders to understand. So I've heard senior leaders say, for example, I'm a red leader. So they've done the other assessments that have told them what colour they are. I'm a red leader. I don't do the people stuff. And it's really about having those conversations around understanding where your personal strengths and preferences lie as the starting point. And it's not a badge of honour or an excuse as to why you don't do the other things, and that if that's a really strong leaning for you, then you need to seek out people who have different preferences and outcomes and aspects for you. And I think that's where the Lumina tools, with having every single quality in the underlying and everyday personas as a positive quality, it really helps us to emphasise that point that yes, we need some outcome focused individuals and we need people that get things done, but we also need those big picture thinkers, those people that are comfortable with change, those people who are down to earth and discipline driven, and those people that are people focused. We need that balance, and that's what Lumina and the suite of Lumina tools really helps to bring for us. It's really interesting when we do the exercise on away days with the Lumina mat. It isn't unusual for us to have a team of people very heavily over one side of the mat with possibly one outlier on the other side. And that starts to have really interesting conversations around how does that person feel when they're in a team meeting, how heard do they feel, how much they feel they input to actually what that team does and what they achieve. So it's been really interesting to help to bring those people in and give them a bit of more of a platform within that team about their views. Lumina speaks to me personally as a model. I love the 4 principles of Lumina. We're very clear within South Yorkshire Police around what we're hoping to achieve through Lumina, but for me personally, knowing that Lumina is there as an organisation, knowing that Lumina is very conscious and careful around the evaluative bias elements, knowing that it takes the research seriously, that it's tested really rigorously, gives me the confidence to really use that confidently at South Yorkshire Police, but also that I've got that support of that community behind me, that if I've got any questions I can learn from people in terms of how they're implementing things, how we can maybe do things a little bit differently. So it's hugely important for me to be part of the wider Lumina community.